popcorn where I start the discussion.
Want to know some more fun facts?
Isn't it awesome to see some of your favorite content creators and favorite people, honestly, that you follow here on this app, be a part of this amazing community called the Nerd Initiative?
Welcome to Fandoms, a show from every fan's point of view, brought to you by the Nerd Initiative Network. Here's your hosts, Tony and Michael.
All right. Well, Fandoms episode 14, titled appropriately Week of Winning, for more than one reason. And we are starting this Friday, March the 17th. I still haven't been able to process most of this week. But this is also technically our season finale, as we will not have a new Fandoms episode until post C2E2, because our next episode will be while we're there, which we're not going to do because we have a MCU trivia panel that we'll be running that evening, as well as some fun Nerd Initiative events going on. And then on top of that, we will have a nerd news next week, but that's just something that happens all the time now. So how are you doing, Michael?
Good. I mean, to your point, I mean, I think been a crazy week for you. Easily. And it's gonna be a crazy 2 weeks, I feel like. C2E2 is gonna be nuts. And so yeah, I don't know. It's a kind of surreal feeling. I will say today has felt like I don't know if it's just being exhausted or like a fog. Had a couple meetings and prep for C2E2, and I just didn't feel like as sharp as I usually do.
No, I can agree with you. I don't know what it is. It's been a lot going on this week. I think maybe just like everything that was going on. Because I know in the midst of me being excited what was going on, you knew what was going on, so you were excited. And it's funny though, because I have been told on more than one occasion that I need to go and watch the live stream that you and Jeremy did, which I did. In fact, I was actually watching it after we did the recording. So I was sitting there. I don't know if you got my text message where I was like, hey, invite me in. Because I was literally sitting at a McDonald's at one point, and I was like, hey, really? I'll watch it with you. Yeah. So like
yeah, because you were done by that. You guys pre-recorded, right? So like I didn't even know. That would have been cool to have you in. That would have been awesome to have you in. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it was, I mean, because we literally, like, it was weird though, because they told us to check out of the hotel before we got there because it could probably take a while. And then I did exactly what they said. And then they were like, okay, we're done. Let's go ahead and take you back to the hotel. I'm like, we ain't got a hotel room anymore. Like, we had all of our luggage with us in the green room and everything. Like, we're homeless now. So we stayed at the McDonald's for a little bit, and then we went right to the airport.
Well, for those who don't know, let's walk them through it. I think we were talking again, and I think we always assume, but for those who don't know, give them a quick rundown of your crazy. It was Monday, right? Monday, because Oscars were Sunday, so it was the day. Yeah, give us a little.
So we were reached out very shortly before this all happened, and said, hey, we'd like to have you on a Marvel trivia panel. And so immediately, the answer is always going to be yes for me. Like if you say Marvel, that's kind of like if you see kids on the street and they say, don't go with the white panel van, especially if someone says,
don't
hey, I've got candy kid. Yeah. It's like, hey, come into this white panel van. There's Marvel movies playing. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And so they baited me easily saying, let's do a Marvel trivia. Cause I'm thinking,
and by they, he means Good Morning America.
Yes. ABC. Yeah. Yes. And so I'm easily, they could have fished me, but they didn't. And so, we're good. We're setting everything up. They're asking for pictures. They did a 30-minute interview for me to take 2 lines out of the bit, which I think they did that just to throw me off a bit. And like, I was excited. I'm like texting Michael, like, they're asking about Nerd Initiative and all this other stuff. Like maybe this will be a big thing. And Michael's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we get to LA, and of course it's right around the Oscars craziness. So the only thing that like affected us with that was it was like expensive Ubers. But we, went to the Fogo store, met up with Marvel twin Rihanna, And we then ate shawarma where the Avengers did after the Battle of New York, which was fantastic. And I highly recommend Shalom Grill off of Pico Boulevard, West Pico Boulevard. It is a fantastic place to eat. And I even messaged them ahead of time and said, hey, listen, if a group of people end up showing up and we want to do a video, is that going to be a problem? They said, come, just come. We're happy to have you. And so they were really cool.
They probably get it all the time.
Oh yeah. They have the picture of the Avengers scene. They look a lot different because they remodeled. And so Monday we get picked up. We end up meeting Jade Rogers, who we're going to have on this show at some point because she's just an amazing person.
Yeah.
And what she's doing is amazing. And we just had a great time talking with her in the green room. I was terrified that my kid was going to talk about video games and not Guardians of the Galaxy and trivia, because that's all he talked about before he got on stage. But what's funny is as soon as we walked out in that giant domed area at the Academy Museum, he immediately thought about Volume 2. And all he could think of was that first battle on the Sovereign Planet where they're fighting to protect the batteries. And that's all he thought of was Guardians of the Galaxy at that point. So, he did his thing. He did great. My hand was on him to prevent him from talking too much. Because I told him if I squeeze your shoulder, it means calm down. If I strangle you, it means you're going too far. But it was crazy.
Great.
Oh, he was fantastic. He was the best part of the whole thing.
Yeah. So to fill in the gap. So basically, old friends from Good Morning America reached out to me a couple weeks ago. Do you know anybody that would be a good fit to surprise? And obviously, a big part of morning television is like these shock and awes and these big surprises. That it's like key. And so I immediately thought of Tony, especially when it comes to Guardians. And they said within that, the goal was to get someone surprised with free passes to the premiere, which is insane. So we talked to Donovan a few months ago about, or it was I think it's a few months ago at this point, about going to the Ant-Man premiere and like how amazing that looked. And it looks like we're going to have friends that go back to back, which is absolutely incredible. So they went through, and again, they went through the whole thing, and the guys, and the trick of it all was to be like, hey, will you come out and do some Marvel trivia, like a super fan trivia kind of segment? And of course, Tony was in, and it's great. I mean, if we should play it after we're done, kind of give them behind the scenes because we have it loaded. But it's great. Like you said, Jonathan was incredible. Completely oblivious to, like everything around him, everything that's happening. I think at some point you hear JJ who says like, I don't think it's sunk in yet. And I was like, yeah, but Jonathan tends to be just like, he is a bold, fearless kid, which is pretty awesome. And so even if you look at the photos behind the scenes, he's like directing the anchors and what to do. And like, this is like and it's hard not to get, and I want to get your perspective on this. Because I can imagine it's hard not to get like nervous or overwhelmed. The setting was breathtaking, in the, what's it called? The museum and it's, but like, what was going through your head being up there? Again, let's go to step one. Step one, you got flown to LA to go on a morning segment on like one of the biggest, networks and do this really cool thing. And then you're standing there, and I think it's like even cooler than I imagined, I imagined. And I was watching that and I was like, this is breathtaking. So I'd love to know what was going through your head when you were up there, because it looked so cool. And of course, Jonathan was cool as a cucumber and could care less. But I want to know what it was like to be up there, because it was awesome. And I'll shut up now.
Oh, okay. So first of all, if you saw the video of it, and we'll see the video in a minute, it's enormous. It's when we first saw it, it was not too, I'm trying to think exactly. So in fact, hold on a second. I will actually give. So, okay. So here you can see, like it's an enormous place. Like we saw it driving by, and I remember the first thing I said was, what is that? That looks amazing because at
That
nighttime it
view
was
is
completely blown up. It was glowing, and you could tell there was something going on. I think they did like an Oscars party up there because that building, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, was basically the overflow for the El Capitan, and so if you weren't directly in the theater watching, you were probably there. And so there was a lot of stuff going on. They were doing a lot of cleaning afterward. It's a big space. And you could tell it was easily set up to do these Academy parties because like there's like a bar in the downstairs and stuff in a very big open space. And you could tell they were doing a lot of cleaning up. But you come out to it and it's enormous. It is the size, I would probably say, of like maybe 2 or 3 like basketball courts, like
Oh,
in
wow.
length. Like it's got a lot of size to it, and they were only using a small segment of it, and then the rest of it was just background, and so that was overwhelming. And like we're being put off to the side. John is just absorbing all of it. He's just looking, immediately thinks about volume 2. He sits there and he immediately is like, okay, this is where the creature, tries to take the batteries from the Sovereign. You need to be Drax and do this. And that's what he was directing people. He wasn't concerned about the show. He was more interested in recreating this scene in the movie in his mind, because this is a place where it happened in his head. And so like he was just immediately friendly with everybody, and they were taken by him because the whole time he's not worried about anybody. Everybody is his friend. He's excited. After the whole shooting was over, everyone got hugs. In fact, the 2 anchors, Wit and the other person, I can't remember her name, they were standing there. He walked up to thank them and just grabbed them both and pulled them in and hugged them together.
Wow.
And they were more interested. Like when we first did it and then we went to a break, they're just talking to him because they have kids that are a little bit older than him. And so they're asking him questions and he's just talking to them. And he found out that they had kids and they're just like, oh, really? And he's just having a great time. So it was definitely one of those things. Like I can even like show you before we got out there. Like, I mean, just look at him. He's just completely confident.
So funny. Yeah. I mean, it's just so cool. And then
he was super proud of that outfit too.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like we can talk when we show the video. We can talk about because I think he did start to like, much like Rocket, just start taking stuff off the table. I didn't realize it now, and we're talking about it now. But like, and then before we roll the clip, then you have the big surprise where they're like, "Hey, by the way, want to let you know you're going to the Guardians premiere, like the red carpet, everything." What was that like? Because that is just an absolute, I mean, it's hard to top that experience, but I think it will.
What's great is it really hasn't set in for me yet, like the magnitude of it. It's something that I've wished to do. In fact, if I never had this chance again, if I never had this opportunity, you would think like Avengers and stuff like that, like being Robert Downey Jr. or whatnot. Guardians of the Galaxy has always been like that special movie, like the movie series for me. I've loved James Gunn. I've loved like the stuff that he's done. Even just going over adversity, with stuff that happened on social media, and then him building this story about family, and just knowing how the Guardians of the Galaxy cast have been so closely knit. It's always been my favorite franchise, I think, within the MCU. And so to get to go to the last film for that before everything changes is a big deal, because I can even remember back in like 2019 when we've already had Guardians. James Gunn just finished writing the script for volume 3, and like Chris Pratt like read it and cried. Like I'm not ready for it, but then I am ready for it. And so that, on top of the fact that in most cases when you get invited to red carpets, you can't really talk about it until you go there. Disney, ABC, Good Morning America, GMA3 has given me a pass so that I can talk about it and just basically experience it from the moment of knowing I'm going until we get there. And I'm going to be able to do that with whoever watches. Cause I'm going to record like the whole experience, like,
Oh yeah.
figuring out the outfit or figuring out what to do and all of that stuff. And it's just been a lot of fun. And on top of that, not even with the premiere and everything, just the amount of like content creating mutuals, and even like followers on TikTok and other places that have been so like, it's not jealousy. It's only like they make comments like you deserved it or blah, 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 which I don't feel like I did. But just the fact that how supportive people have been, one or two trolls, but at the same time,
it's always going to be,
it's always going to have that. But everyone's been so positive. It's made me feel loved. It's made my family feel loved. It makes this desire to do this and content creation as like the thing that I want to do for my whole life more of a reality, because I can see the people behind me and people supporting. And of course you too, because, you are a part of this. You mentioned, my family, and, if anything, it's your fault that I'm going to get a restraining order against me from Karen Gillan, because I am going to get opposed with her like this.
That's awesome.
So it's like, it's overwhelming. I'm over the moon, and just I can't express my appreciation to GMA, to ABC, just the cost of getting us out there to sing us to LA. Like, I was a little suspicious, and then I realized it was the Oscars, and I stopped being suspicious.
Yeah.
The most I thought was like, they were gonna be like, turn around, there's an actor from the cast that's there, and that would have been fun enough as it is. But now I know I'm gonna meet them all.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, because usually it's filmed in New York. So when you said LA, I was surprised myself. And then I realized, yeah, it's the day after the Oscars, and it was funny. Like if you watch that stream with me and JJ, like, first of all, it took about 45 minutes to get to it. They're talking about the Oscars. Obviously it's the biggest night in Hollywood, right? So that makes a lot of sense. But it's just, I also didn't expect, again, I'm not like working at GMA, so I don't know the details. I just know the people involved, and were amazing. Kat and Alyssa and everyone. The funny thing is that, like, it was better than I could have imagined for you. And it was just a cool thing to be. It was really surreal and cool just to be watching it with JJ. Like, that was like amazing in itself. Mm-hmm. And so, like, when you appeared on that really cool platform, I was like, oh wait, it's not like in a studio. It's not like in like the usual. I'm like, this is getting better by the second. And so, yeah, I mean, I think when they do these things, they want to go all out, and rightfully so. And, look, you do deserve it. It is a really cool thing. It'll start to seek. My mouth is not working right now. It'll start to be more real every day. But again, it's just the beginning. And I think that's a cool thing. And I've been thinking about it as you're explaining the whole process. It's going to be a really special premiere. Not that they're all not special, because, they all are, right? But to your point, what you said, I got chills thinking about, like, there's going to be like a specific buzz, almost as when like Endgame happened. Like, I can't imagine, I didn't watch that stream or watch that red carpet or watch like that premiere, but I can't imagine the excitement and the electricity of like being at the Endgame carpet, and everyone knows that something, whether they know what's happening in the movie or not, they know something big is coming. So yeah, I mean, so many cool things.
I mean, it's the last for the Guardians. It's the last for James Gunn with Marvel. This is going to be in the cusp of him. Like, I'm excited to even just meet him. I hope I get to meet him and be just like, listen, you are making me excited to be a DC fan again. Like, it's like all of this stuff, like there's all of these emotions built up with it.
Yeah.
And I want to say this one last thing, and then I'll shut up. The GMA crew, I know a lot of people like get really skeptical when it comes to news sources and stuff like that and talk shows. I want to be very clear. They are all 100% absolutely the sweetest people I have ever met in my life. Between Kat, Amanda, Christasia, who like helped coordinate all the stuff, the PAs, the makeup artist. I mean, even after it was all over with, even the makeup artist was in on the whole thing. And so she came up to us afterward and like she was like super excited. John hugged her and she's like, it was so hard. It was so hard to keep the secret from you. We're so excited for you. Like they were literally just extremely nice. Wit, like you could just tell they look like these stoic people because you see them on television every day. And you know, this is like their business. And they just made it very heartfelt. And I think that was why it was so much more overwhelming because how kind they were. It wasn't just a job for them. They were excited to do this. It was like the thing that they were just looking forward to out of the whole show. So
it was definitely genuine.
Yeah.
So before we roll the clip, because we should roll the clip in a second, show us you got it right behind you. The big ticket that you took home. I'm looking right at it. That's why I was gonna say, like,
yes, my precious.
I mean, that is
it's so just a piece of cardboard, but I love the fact that they did this. They're like, listen, this is not the real ticket. And I'm like, well, I figured that. And I'm like, honestly, I want to take it home with me anyway. They're like, we don't even know when this is going to happen. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know when the premiere is happening just because of how Marvel works.
Yeah.
But we'll go with that. And they're like, yeah, we'll figure out the plane and everything. But like this ticket is just so much fun. Like I love this. Like just getting this by
signed. Well, we were talking about all
this thing almost didn't survive flying back. Like the flight attendants had to deal with a lot of crap on the way back from the airport, or back from LAX. And I will tell you right now, when they saw this in the compartment, they were kind of like, "Yeah, it's a piece of cardboard. I'm really not caring about it. I've got people that are trying to fight to get into that compartment, but I was able to at least keep it, alive. And my son's got his up in his room. So
that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
All right, should we roll this?
Yeah, go for it.
We are joined now by three super fans, Tony Abdillah and his son John and Jade R. Rogers.
And so we were talking here, you all thought that you came here to play a little Marvel trivia game, and then we switched things up on you. Jade was like, well, wait a minute. She's like, I was up all night studying for trivia. What's going to happen now? So instead, we have a little bit of a surprise for you. So we mentioned that the world premiere of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to premiere this spring in Hollywood, and guess what? You're all going. Was it worth it to not do the trivia? Plus, this is all.
I love John's face. I just love he's got that genuine.
Oh
my goodness!
Cool. And like what they do, what I had to clip it off for time. We're not gonna sit here and watch it, alongside him. But like he literally walks over to the table and starts like counting the Groots and the rockets, and he starts pulling stuff off there and stuff. And so he really was like the scene stealer of the whole situation. So
oh yeah, and he had no hesitate talking. I will say that's one thing I love about my kid. In most situations where kids are shy, like Rihanna met Rihanna's family at the Funko store in Hollywood. Which if you've not gone, you need to go. It is amazing. In fact, I not only hold on, I can show you like look at this.
It's so insane.
It's crazy. It's crazy. There's John going through. I mean, look at this stuff. I mean, it's just so cool. So absolutely cool.
How big is the Funko store? Now, is that their flagship store? Is that what that is?
It's so there's the headquarters, I believe, that's in Washington. And then this is like the big store. This was a very big store. And like that's what I showed in those pictures was only part of it. You walk in, there's literally a waterfall with like Black Panther standing there. There's a giant Killmonger. Like these characters are taller than me. You go into the Guardians of the Galaxy room and you've got Yondu that's flying with his arrow as Mary Poppins. And you've got like a throne with Thanos sitting on it. And that's only part of it. Then you go to the Jurassic Park section. You've got the T-Rex breaking through the gate. I mean, you can see that. Look, you can see that here. The T-Rex is like breaking through the gate, and you can actually get on the car and sit on it. And even that Rick and Morty in the upper left-hand corner, you can get in that and ride and get a picture with it. It's all photo ops. It's all like there for you to enjoy, and that doesn't even include the Flintstones mobile. And like it was crazy. We literally, we spent over 2 hours in there and there was still stuff to see that we didn't get to. And the anime, I will say though, they need more anime. I'm sitting on that. Here we go.
Awesome. Well, the story is developing and will continue to develop, and we'll definitely well, I haven't said will, but you'll definitely keep us all up to speed, and it's going to be really fun to plan the whole thing. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited, and I'm not even going. I'm like beyond pumped. So I think it's going to be an amazing experience, and it's just cool to kind of like see it all come together.
And honestly, I will be taking us through the journey of going to the red carpet. That will be a thing, whether it's on TikTok, if it still exists, or on other platforms. And I just say,
YouTube. We're on YouTube right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, it was funny because like I've been noticing like on TikTok, people are constantly saying, "Oh, follow me on my other socials." I'm like, I'd rather you just go follow Nerd Initiative because that's where you'll see me. But I, absolutely, we'll be taking you along on this ride, and we would love for you guys to, tune in and see that, and hopefully it's entertaining because this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Oh yeah. And you were saying like, and then the last thing we'll say is like you were saying, if I get to meet them, I have a feeling like, I mean, we saw Donovan's photos. For those who don't know, Donovan went to the Ant-Man premiere, and he was in like the fan. I mean, I just love how Marvel does it with their fan sections, and I think they'll actually have you as guests of GMA, like in some perspective, walking the carpet or something. But it's just such a cool experience, and like Donovan's such a vocal person. I can only imagine Jonathan just going up to be like, "Yeah, hey Yandu, what's up?" Like I just think it's going to be an amazing thing, and I am sure that you're going to get to meet a slew of people. So much so that I am nervous about the whole Dave Bautista situation. Hopefully he can, he doesn't reach out to me afterwards and is annoyed and frustrated, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Oh, we're going to talk about you. Don't worry about it. We'll bring you up.
I'm sure he's concerned about little old me.
No, but again, just over the moon. Are we ready to move on now?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's break into some nerd news. That's right. We've got nerd news for March the 17th, 2023. For whatever reason, I felt like I wanted to say it that way. Let's go ahead and get rid of this overlay, and let's just go right into it. We've got just a number of things that we're going to talk about from the slides, and we will go from there. So first up, Willow, the Disney Plus series that basically was a continuation of the story from, of course, the movie of the same name, Willow, has been canceled. It is no longer, I believe it is not getting a season 2, which I understand there has been a bit of an uproar. And I think some people, because of their complaints about, this being canceled, there are people that now are going to go watch it to see what they missed. And I think that's indicative of the problem with streaming services. There are a lot of things coming out, and
there's too much.
Yeah, there's too much. And unfortunately, people fall in love with these shows after the fact, and it doesn't really work well for them. I have not caught any of this show.
Me neither.
Yeah, I love the movie. Absolutely love the movie.
Warwick Davis too, who plays Willow as the main character. And I mean, Christian Slater was the Val Kilmer replacement. Love me some Christian Slater. But I has been canceled. Season 2 has been laid out. Well, we'll see what happens. I do think, I mean, it's funny if you look at the history of shows, right? So like you have, I mean, the one that comes to mind off the top of my head is Arrested Development. Ones that are canceled in the past, like now we're moving at such a rapid pace with technology and new platforms. It used to be they were canceled off a network, and then the streaming service is the one that came in and saved them. So Netflix has saved a slew of shows that were canceled elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think, I don't know. Maybe this one's a time where it just wasn't, the appetite wasn't there. But to your point, I also think you're 100% correct. There's just too much out there, and it's hard for people to keep up. And we've talked about the different, Disney Plus is one, and I think they're going to slow down. I think we talked about it last time. Iger is going to slow things down. That's one of his goals. But you have all these, Apple TV Plus, which has phenomenal programming. So you have Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, Netflix throws anything up there. They're just like spaghetti on the wall. And then you have Prime, and then it gets confusing because some of them also carry networks on there. So it's like, wait, what? Like, timeout. Like, Amazon has like HBO and HBO Max and Showtime and stuff like that on there. So it's like, wait, what? Like, and then you have Peacock, which is like, wait, is Peacock NBC? Yeah, Peacock's NBC. It's like, and so it's just like, it's very confusing. And I do think, everything comes in cycles, right? And I think we are going to see some things,
well, there's a problem like what you said with like Amazon. And I think Amazon and Hulu are indicative of an issue that I think then comes into to play when you think of streaming services, because they're adding like tiered content to their platform, where you can watch something on Hulu, and like, let's say you Google search something on Google, and I'll be honest, I'm a very big fan of Stream Lounge. We haven't been able to do it recently because life has been crazy. And I'm planning on getting back onto it. But I remember at Christmas time, I wanted to watch Die Hard, and then Die Hard was being promoted on Hulu, but it was through the Stars. And so that messed things up because you had to have a Stars subscription to be able to watch it on Hulu. And then the same thing for Amazon. Like, they've got Stars Plus, they've got Encore, they've got, I'm just trying to think of a couple other things at the top of my head. Which I can't think of them now, but there's a number of platforms that you have to have to
Paramount
have
Plus,
and then you have to have the streaming service and then the cable channel or the premium digital service for it. So
it's really difficult. I also think like a lot of places, the old models don't work, right? And so you have, I think a lot of places will put anything in. Like, Netflix was obviously the first mover into this space with, I think House of Cards was that the first show? I think it was, or one of the first shows that a streaming service put out, and obviously a very successful one. But it's difficult. People want to get that mental real estate first and foremost, right? They want to like lock on to people's minds. Like, for a long time, Netflix was the leader of all this stuff. Apple is coming for them because Apple, I think, is putting out great and variety of content.
Yep.
Hulu has its own niche. I think Hulu has a really good true crime angle. They're connected to ABC. So people that don't know, Hulu is owned by Disney majority. So they have a lot of the ABC Good Morning. Like, that's what we were watching. Your segment was on Hulu. So there's different niches, but I think they want to get that like brand awareness first. And then it's like, how do you do it? Like, much like if you look at news sites these days, I've been getting a lot of emails from, like, say, like the New York Times. Everything was free for years on the internet. And now when I go to click on the story, it's like, a lot of sites, like,
you have to be subscribed to the service and whatnot. That's so frustrating when you're looking for news.
And I think now, and then again, like, it's with streaming, it's moved a lot faster, right? It hasn't been a 10-year thing. So now you have all these different places. They all have their own platforms. Everyone can't be signed up to it's more, honestly, in the end of it's more expensive than cable used to be. We're like, oh, cord cutters. Remember, like, cord cutters was like a big thing. Like, oh, millennials are cutting the cord. They're going to just get in streaming. Because it was just at the time when that was popular. It was like Roku, Hulu, and Netflix. And that was it. And now you have like you said, Stars, Paramount. There's a couple of British ones like Sky News.
Discovery Plus.
Yeah, there's all these cool shows that you hear about. And so I think the cream will rise to the top. I think things will slow down. I think some things will go under. I mean, look, like, Quibi, not really a streaming. I don't think it was like a big network thing, but obviously it was supposed to be like The Commute. You watch little short 8-minute films, and that really just didn't work out. And I think, sadly, that is what will happen. And that's what happened with all kinds of techs. It proliferates, it mushrooms everywhere, and then it starts to contract. So long story short, we've gone way too far with this one, but it is just a lot out there, you know, and I think there's some really good stuff out there, and it's going to ebb and flow, and everyone. So yeah, sound off it. Look, hey, speak to the audience, sound off in the comments and on our site. Let us know what you're watching, what's good, what we should be watching, and you know, what you think about all this stuff, because it is a very interesting, we're in like it is the tail end, I think, of the golden era of like streaming TV. And so we're about to shift into a different era, I think. And it's interesting. So
yeah. Now, speaking of being at the like in LA during the Oscars and stuff like that, we cannot go without talking about the Oscars. And it was definitely a big night for everything, anything, everywhere, all at once. The Whale. There was a big story about comebacks here. There was a bit of diversity, and I will tell you, I think me being in LA, we didn't have a chance to watch the Oscars. Like, it was like an afterthought because so much was going on. We're trying to fit in as much as we could. So we really, I'm out of the loop this year. Plus Will Smith wasn't there to do anything interesting. So, by all means, like, and I heard, like,
you're also not alone. I wonder what the viewership for the, I love doing like I love being like the stat boy of this stuff. So I love doing, and then of course mid show.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I will say Jimmy Kimmel I did see the bit where he kind of like leaned heavily into the whole Will Smith drama for last year. I don't know how I felt about it. But I'm not a big Jimmy Kimmel fan, to be honest.
I think the only time I ever was great. I think
the only time I ever watch him, the only time I ever watch him is like, when the Marvel people are on his show. I don't know. I just think I still have problems with him since like back with like when he was on Spike TV and stuff, because he virtue signaled a lot at the beginning, and then like he forgets that he had like women on trampolines bouncing up and down in the back of his shows. So it's kind of like hypocritical a little bit to me. But honestly, like, super excited for Brendan Fraser. I mean, like, that was just great. And of course the Everything Everywhere All at Once cast, just seeing all of that was fantastic. But I really don't have much to say about the Oscars unless you do.
I'll jump. Yeah, I have a little bit. Look, this is good. I mean, viewership is up 12% from last year, so that's good. So I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think Kimmel hosting was the first host we've had in years, right? So last year, I think ever since Kevin Hart, that whole debacle, they had gone without a host for a few years. So,
well, didn't Chris Rock was the host last year, wasn't he?
No, I think that was just a presenting thing.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, that wasn't. I definitely don't think he was. Was he the host? No, was he? Well, whatever. Let us know in the comments if so. Yeah, I will say so. So I will say, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I will say I do like Kimmel. I think he's good, and I also think like we've talked about before, like James Gunn. We've talked about with Kevin Hart. All of them have like these pasts, and everyone does. And I think we're in different eras. So I agree with you. I think, but it is what it is. I thought it was a better show. It wasn't bad. I do think overall these award shows are becoming less and less relevant, in my opinion, with everything that's going on. I do think we're heading into like a weird type of, world, whatever. I think it's a nice escape, and that's why I think viewership is up. I also think viewership was up, and this is a really good look. I think this is what we should say aside from my rambling, right? With viewership up 12%, I hope this is a signal to the Academy, but also to people out there. Clearly, the diversity that was chosen for the Oscars, it was a very diverse, list of winners, right? People want to watch that. So that whole stigma for years of like, oh, people don't want to watch, diversity or the stories, they don't relate or whatever, is complete bogus, because if viewership's up 12%, people are watching this. Like, and I don't want to butcher his name because he's an icon. Ke Kwan, I said it way too fast, is amazing. And He is the guy that you can root for always. Everyone should love. His speech was one of the best Oscar speeches I've seen, and I used to have to watch it and cover it. It was the worst night of the year for me. It was like till 2 a.m. But like, it's one of the best speeches we've seen in decades. It is so passionate, and it resonates with our audience, right? What Nerd Initiative is all about. Don't give up on your dreams. And, you know, a lot of people have that perspective, but the way he was able to put it into words, and man, he is just, and then, you know, Michelle Yeoh and like you said, Brendan Fraser too, right? And I think with Brendan Fraser, I thought that was beautiful as well. I think you think of a guy who, and I said it earlier, a guy who, not earlier, but I said it on a different platform. I think he had a very, talk about redemption. I think he had a very easy, and he mentioned this a little bit in his speech, and he was rambling because he clearly was emotionally overcome in his speech. If you watch it, like, Key's speech is poised, polished, emotional, beautiful. Brendan's was rambling, but also emotional, and not fully surprised because he's enjoying this wave, and he is humble and appreciates it. And what I was saying earlier, and then I'll stop rambling, is the fact of the matter is, like, for Brendan Fraser, if you look at look at his career and old photos and how he's evolved as a person and a star, I'm going to say it, he had it easy coming into Hollywood years ago. You know, he entered at a peak. He was an absolute heartthrob. He was clearly top of everyone's list for so many movies. He was that quintessential, not only fit the mold of what everyone was looking for at the time, but with School Ties, you know, and that's look at that cast. Talk about, like, you know, a young Ben Affleck, a young Matt Damon, but he was in acclaimed movies. He kind of veered off. He did a lot, you know, he did obviously the Mummy series. That was a really successful series. And he did a lot of other, you know, not small movies, but movies that kind of were, you know,
like Journey to the Center of the Earth and stuff like that. Yeah.
And I think, like, he's been humbled by it and knows what it's like to not have that continued success. Like look at Matt Damon's, if you like, that's a great story. I'm sure someone did it at some point, you know, for media, like the diversion of those two careers, you know, Matt Damon to a Brendan Fraser. And I think it was just really nice to see. And I hope, and this is the last thing I will say, I promise, I hope that if kids were up that late, or even like people that are, you know, in their teens or young adults or whatever, I hope they got the message that came from all of this, right? I think from Brendan, from Key, from Michelle, from all these people, it's just it stands out to me as one of the most inspiring Oscars I've seen in quite a long time, and rightfully so. So it was
what Key said. I think the most important thing from his speech was, "Don't give up on your dream." I mean, that was like literally, like, even Michelle Yeoh, like at her age, you know, she didn't expect to have won an Oscar, and she did a fantastic job. It's funny, and I will say this, and we can move on. I have noticed that at Brendan Fraser, as he's had this sweep where he's becoming more relevant again, as he's kind of bounced back from this, you know, from a very unfortunate situation of what happened to him and how he got blacklisted, to then, you know, doing Doom Patrol, and then, you know, he's getting into the stuff, and then obviously this Oscar nod from The Whale. If you look at him from even back when he was doing Doom Patrol, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he still exists," and, you know, that's great that he's working again. He honestly looks like he's getting younger every time he shows up somewhere now. Like, he just, like, thinner, like the hair is getting strong. Like, it's like he's getting his youth back. I don't know what it is. Like, whatever it's happening, like the positivity, you know, I've seen where negativity makes people look older, but it's really, I mean, look at him. He looks good in that picture. So,
well, I think look, and this is, that's a really important thing to bring out. Like, I think when you kind of, and they say this about, like, people when they get older, right? Like, not like this age, right? Like older, like when you don't have something to live for, you can quickly, you know, if you lose your partner so long or you lose your drive, like, and I think that was something, you know, like you said, like you mentioned the hair, and that's a visual thing, but it also represents you and where you are in your life and stuff. And so like, I think he's really enjoying it. He's loving the fact that he has like a reason to thrive again. And so
Yeah.
it is a nice, again, it's just a great, these stories from this Oscars is great. And, you know, last year we had obviously a troubling event. I think even more so, I think the one thing I will say, like, you know, hypocritical or not, leaning into the stuff about that, I think it needs to be mentioned too, because again, I don't look at it as a race thing with the Will Smith stuff. I look at it as the fact that, like, you know, what they said, like, no one did anything. And I look at it as a class thing, like an entitled, like, it wasn't because it was Will Smith and no one in the guy. And I love the jokes, the passive aggressive jokes were like, yeah, and give like a 25-minute speech. You probably didn't see the monologue, but he was like,
Oh no, I saw that.
yeah,
like the whole, it's like, and yeah, we have a response team, and don't worry, just do what you did last year. Absolutely nothing, you know.
we talk about messages, right? And the message there is a bad message. It's the message we're seeing on, you know, sometimes on social media when it's negative. Like, I would like to get to, and I hope we get into a momentum here. And then this really will be the last thing I say. You know, we opened up the show with what you and your family were able to kind of experience this week, and seeing that, and people really getting behind that and being excited for that and being like, and I had the same thing goes for this. Like, I want to see a string of these things. I don't want to see, you know, buzz over a guy who slaps, you know, who's going through something and slaps another human being on stage and nothing, you know. I want to see stuff like this. And that's why I think, you know, hopefully we're coming out of the TMZ era, even though probably not. But I hope that, like, we get back to some substance and people look at things and the message out there is good and positive, and, you know, it'll carry the next generation through and what they're seeing. But
absolutely. Yep. Well, we said we'd stop talking about this like a long time ago, but that's fine.
It's good.
So let's go and move on. Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of winning, you know, when good things happen, we all win. We know that James Gunn had written the script for the future Superman Legacy. We also found out that not only did he write it, but he will also be directing this film, which also the release date coincides for July 11th, 2025. So we're just over 2 years away. But it's also a little bit heartfelt because this is happening. This will be released on the birthday of his father, who passed not too long ago. I will be honest with you. Obviously this is going to delve into the duality of having two fathers, Jonathan Kent and Jor-El. It's going to be, you know, an established Superman. We may get flashbacks, but we're definitely going to see heart out of this. And I am super excited to know that he is starting Superman off right. And I really feel like we're not going to get an origin story with him. We may get like dealt with things pointing back to it. And I think a lot of what we're seeing with these characters, like with Batman, the Brave and the Bold, and everything else, are going to be that these worlds are already established. We're just joining them already in progress. And I'm super excited for this. I'd say my name is Mr. Marvelite, but I am super excited that DC has got a pathway to a future. And I was talking about this on a live last night, not only for their continuity of their big universe, but also like them willing to continue doing like Elseworlds type stories, like the Batman and Joker and stuff. That way, if, like, let's say you want a different style, you can still see these things. And there is such a future with James Gunn willing to touch these different properties and do things with them. I really hope, like, even down the road, this is not even compared to like Superman, that we may get like a Batman Who Laughs in Elseworld story or something like that. Like, there's the possibilities are just limitless right now. And it's super exciting to be a comic book fan.
Yeah. I think, I mean, you talked about, again, this continues the whole positivity inspiration train. I think for those who haven't seen it, go to James Gunn's Twitter. Like, please, it is, I think it was like 9 tweets long. It's very in depth. He's clearly passionate and really, really heartfelt about this. It's going to be a rough process writing and directing this film, but it's also going to pay off incredibly in the end for fans, because he clearly cares about this. And this is what we want as fans for anything, whatever it is. You want someone who is just passionate and loves it and is going to put, this is going to sound super cliche, but their blood, sweat, and tears into it. And that's exactly what James Gunn's going to do. And so, yeah, the fans are in for a treat, because to see that long stream of him, he's into it. And this is, again, I've said this in the past and I'm not going to harp on it or whatever, but this is what worried me about Ben Affleck and Batman. Like, he clearly was over it and didn't want to do it. And so directing that was not an option, and doing that was not an option. And I'm just giving an example. I'm not hating on Ben Affleck. I just want people that love it. Like Simu Liu clearly cares about Shang-Chi and the legacy and what comes from that. Chadwick Boseman cared about Black Panther and what that meant to people. I think, like you said, James Gunn clearly cares about Superman, about his, it's not a joke, but about his legacy, but he also just cares about the story behind it. And it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful story.
And that's another thing. Like, I also feel like one of the things, like after the whole debacle with social media and the alt-right, we lost something with James Gunn that I'm now starting to notice is coming back. James Gunn is one of the few people that is in Hollywood that is very responsive to the fans. And if you don't know that, follow him on Twitter. He's the only reason why you should even still be on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because James Gunn does not hesitate to respond to things. Just recently there was a comment, because the Penguin series is going to be coming out soon. And someone said, James, they said, you will not see Robert Pattinson's Batman in the Penguin series because there is a copyright issue where Fox owns the rights to Batman on television, which then transferred over to Disney. And James Gunn came right back and said, that's not true. Like, he has no problem like setting the record straight immediately. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a byline. It just has to be a comment in his thing. And if you ask him questions, there are times, like I remember when Volume 2 came out, I did a spray paint art of Rocket and Yondu, and I posted it on Twitter. And I remember him commenting on it and liking it.
That's insane.
And it's like those kind of things, like that's what you want, especially when it's on a fan-based type property. Like you think of things like we're going to be talking a little bit later about Gladiator 2. There's no big fan base for Gladiator where people are just pining for the next installment. But with comic book movies like DC, there are DC fans, there are Marvel fans, like people that just really want to just kind of delve into the stories, be it you and me and look at our rooms. And so to have a director, have a person helming a studio that is willing to respond and to feed into the fans is amazing. And it makes it a great time to be alive. So
yeah. And that's what we want, again, like 100%.
Yep.
Biting my tongue from adding any more.
So speaking of things that are happening, also Disney Parks has been really been in high gear when it comes to the new Tron Light Cycle ride in Orlando. Unfortunately, it was not ready when we went there in December, so at some point we have to go back now. I was a very big Tron Legacy fan. I loved it. I thought it was fun. Especially in the era of 3D movies and 3D like at home. Like I still love watching the film just because of like how beautiful it is aesthetically. And so they are doing the Tron Light Cycle ride. They've been doing a lot of like early like viewings. A lot of content creators have been down there the last week and doing a lot of like filming where they like have cameras on the front cycles and you actually can see yourself and how you're reacting. They did a big party, I believe it was like last night or the night before. And this is all on the heels of also there being a video game on the Nintendo Switch and on the PC called Tron Identity. But really the big hope, I think, with a lot of fans is that we will eventually get a sequel to Tron Legacy, or at least another movie in the Tron franchise.
Yeah, not much to add for me.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, let's keep going. I'll let you go and talk about this next one because it's really sad.
Yeah, this one hit me today.
Yeah.
So why am I blanking on his name all of a sudden? That's embarrassing. Lance Reddick. Yeah, Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, again, I said it as pretty much in a post. If this guy looks familiar to you, this actor Lance Reddick looks familiar to you, there's a reason. Because I mean, the guy, look at that smile.
Oh yeah.
We obviously the world lost him today. I think today, this week. We don't know exactly when. Not digging into the news buzz or whatever. But at 60 years old, it's the definition of losing someone too young. Just an impactful actor and person. I'm not lucky enough to have met this man or have interviewed him or talked to him or whatever, but I have watched a lot of the shows like Fringe. Obviously, we know John Wick. It just goes The Wire. It goes on and on and on. And I will say, I think he just. What's sad is I look at actors like this that we lose, and I think everyone kind of has a relationship to certain actors. It was like an effortless quality of the it factor and the presence. At any movie or show that he was in, he could just speak, and he's got this presence. And so he was just a skilled, gifted actor who clearly was doing, and maybe that's why it affects me. Like, he clearly was doing what he should be doing with his life, and doing it really well. And I mean, the voice, like, it just had this presence about him, right? I think he was also in the Netflix show. I think he was in Resident Evil, right? He was the father, I think, in that show. I think.
Oh yeah, I think he played
I think like the lead scientist or father of the two girls. I think.
I can't even get the name out in my head.
But he just, I mean, like I said, I think the main thing is he just had a major impact in every project he was on, and he just looked like he was in. I mean, that again, go back to that smile. It looked like he was enjoying every minute of it, and so I don't know the details surrounding it, and hopefully his family is managing this loss as best as they can, but. This is a sad one. I mean, it just seems like, again, it's for all intents and purposes, a positive, impactful, talented human being. And every now and then we have, this happens every day, obviously, like, it's the world that we live in, but when you lose someone, that's kind of like a shining light. And talk about sounding cheesy, but that's a shining light. It does hit you a little bit. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, like, that was really my response. I was like, so, just thanks to him and his talent for doing what he did, impacting everyone. And I'm sure everyone's got stories about, because again, he's one of those guys where you see the face and you're like, wait, I've seen him in a million things, and he always dominates effortlessly the screen when he's on. Again, the best word to describe his presence, and he just had that. And so
he was extremely active on Twitter even up until a couple of days ago. You could tell he was enjoying life. I mean, John Wick 4, I mean, we're not even there yet, and we've lost him already. But yeah, definitely one of those actors where you kind of you notice his presence, and even if you didn't necessarily know his name, you knew his work, because anytime you saw him, he was recognizable. And so absolutely, it's always sad to lose somebody. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to the family, as they're kind of dealing with this, and as they're now mourning the loss of someone that is so close to them. And I think it's also, we don't know. They're saying that it's suspicious, but at the same time, it's all natural causes. It's just that they just don't know exactly what it is. And it's surprising. I mean, he's only 60 years old, and absolutely, very active in life. And you just don't realize, when your time is going to come. So
it also makes you think. Yeah, that's a thing too. I think, we don't really need any more. We definitely don't need any more reasons to realize how mortal we are. But, that's another thing as well. I think, there's a string of those kinds of, I think Bill Pullman, not Bill Pullman, someone who reminds me of Bill Pullman, I forgot, Bill Paxton. I remember a couple of years ago, that was one that hit a lot of people really hard. I think it's just people that, you know, you grow up with, and there's not, maybe on social media now, it's getting more and more where there's a connection. You know, it's not one of those things like, oh, I'm a huge fan of, you know, this icon or whatever. It's more of just seeing a good human being doing what they do. And it's someone that you could probably imagine meeting in a room and, you know, talking to for a couple minutes and just like kicking back and enjoying his company.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that I think
exactly.
hits people hard with this kind of things. And so, yeah, it's a tough loss. And I've seen a lot of good tributes out there and a lot of people being like, wow, like you're just not someone you expected, you know, for that to happen. So it's sad. Very, very sad.
So let's go ahead and just take a break from, you know, negative news for a minute. And we've got obviously some segments from some of our creators. We're going to go ahead and start off with one of our newest members, new to Nerdtween. And he's going to talk about the finale for Last of Us, which I'm not going to talk about because I haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to try to plug my ears. Here you go.
So let's talk. Last of Us, season 1, season finale. This is going to be heavy with spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, come back later. Like the video, come back later. The episode was just absolutely phenomenal from the very opening scene where the original voice actress gave birth to this new version of Ellie all the way to the very last moments on the screen. The acting was absolutely phenomenal, as it has been all season. The creators of this game have been given an opportunity to take their already amazing story and make it better. They've added things, they've changed things in such a way that it makes this story that was already hailed as being one of the greatest video game stories ever to now being probably the best video game adaptation we might ever see. These characters they've created have gone on such a dynamic character arc, and they are absolutely the best example of dynamic characters that were that way because of the story, not to make the story move along. They did everything in such a cinematic brilliance that it may be one of the greatest TV shows we ever have. Way they did the final fight scene with Joel, where they turned down the outside volume and you just heard this amazing heartfelt music that just added so much passion and energy to the scene. And in the end, we are sitting here wondering, would we save the one person we love, the one person that gives us hope, if that means dooming society? And as someone who never played the games, this show has been nothing but spectacular, and I have been surprised by just about everything I've seen on the screen. And moving forward, I'm really excited to see where this story can go. Joel has made a lot of unilateral decisions that will come back to haunt him one way or another. And the great thing about this series is that it has a lot to pull on, and they're going to be moving forward with season 2, and I can't be anything but excited about it because this season was so good. Next season will probably just be that much better.
That's great.
So yeah. So thank you for that, and I'm sorry I didn't listen to it because I didn't want to be spoiled. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm a little bit behind. Again, we were talking about streaming services and streaming shows, and it's like I came back from
There's so many.
LA.
There's too many.
And I came back from LA, and I remember just like normally we do like watch parties for shows, and we're doing it we were trying to do it for Mandalorian, and we did the first episode, and then last week I had connectivity issues. And then this week, I completely forgot what day of the week it was. And so I forgot.
Yeah.
So we're like, I guess we're not doing this anymore. I'm like, no, we are. It's just we're trying. But we got
need to reset, and take some time off and just pause it. I think these shows and these platforms and, there will be changes and whatnot, but I will say the essence of TV and streaming is not going anywhere. So you can't keep up with it consistently, right? Like you have to take a reset every now and then. So it's necessary.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so getting back to some of the news, let's go ahead and talk about something that like, actually kind of surprised me. Denzel Washington is in talks right now to join the cast for the Gladiator sequel.
I don't get it. I'm confused.
I don't.
Great movie.
I don't know. Yeah,
Amazing,
absolutely.
amazing
Yeah.
movie. But what's the sequel gonna be? And like, are you just again? I think look, it's so weird because the more and more we get these original platforms and original shows and original IP adaptations, right? Like again, like Last of Us is, you know, like it's pulled from a game, and so we're really leaning into that more and more as of late. But like, wait, what? Like, why are studios lazy to be like, all right, let's lean into the Why don't we go back to the Godfather while we're at it? I want a Godfather 4. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, think about it. We've had a lot of like return sequel. Like we just came back from. We had a Hocus Pocus sequel that was like 20 some years in the making. The Willow series is I think something that I grew up watching from the 80s. They're doing a lot of sequels, and you know it's funny because a lot of people complain about Marvel ruining cinema. I'm sorry, I've always thought that sequels ruin cinema because it's kind of like, you know, something did so well. There's literally a video game about making video games, and I always thought it was funny because it could almost be translated to movies as well. Literally within like a couple weeks, like when you play this, you develop a game, you get through all the bugs, you create the game, and it goes out there in this fake game, you know, about video games, says, oh, you're a couple weeks in and the video game's doing well, what are you doing about the sequel? And it's like that should not be the finances, should not be the reason for us having these sequels. It should be because there's a good story. Now if there's a good story for Gladiator 2, I don't know if it really should be called Gladiator 2 unless they're going to bring back Marcus Aurelius. But
That's
at
not
the
gonna
same
happen.
time, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. If Denzel Washington's a part of it, it would be more compelling for me to watch because I feel like Denzel Washington could read the phone book and I'd be happy watching. It's kind of like Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman, if he read the phone book, I would pay out the butt for that. Just because he just that smooth voice. But
Denzel's an icon, right? Like one of the greatest actors of our generation, hands down. I just don't. Again, I think we're getting hung up on the story, and I think also there's going to be we're going to start to get a backlash of this, right? Like skepticism. You brought up Hocus Pocus 2. I mean, that obviously is a lot easier to lean into and have fun with, and whatever. Even so much as Willow, which didn't work, right? I just don't be lazy. Come up with some new storylines. Like, and to your point, don't call it Gladiator 2. Call it something else. Like, you know, I don't know. I think it's very, very. It is lazy. It's not a character like when you talk about Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. Those are characters that are perennial, that you can do so many different storylines and you can come in and out. And obviously they overdo it sometimes, right? And there's reasons behind it. This I have no idea. This I don't get. Like, maybe I'm just getting older, but I'm starting to just be like, don't care. If Denzel's in it, we will be entertained. I just think, that's exactly what it's going to be. Like someone's family member, like maybe so Barry Keoghan from Eternals and the next Joker, or Joker in the Batman series, is also apparently on board for that. Like, so maybe he's like his son. Oh no, his son got killed. Like I don't, whatever. I don't know. Maybe he's like a family member or something that's carrying on that.
It's oh my goodness. Regardless, it's happening. If Denzel Washington just got a little bit better, but it's still a
25-year-old film. This is a film from 2000 or 2001, I think it was, something around there. So I don't know. Great film. Again, also, where do you start? Where do you do the line of like tarnishing a film's legacy too, right?
Right.
I don't think it will. I think we're past that kind of stuff, but
yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some more movies, and we're going to go ahead and give Puja the platform and talk about her picks.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another segment of Puja's Picks. My name is Puja, and I'm here to bring you the latest in movie news. Let's get into it. Shazam! Fury of the Gods kicks off another batch of March releases as we're back with the Shazam fam. With Billy on top and saving the world with his fellow siblings, nothing can stop him. That is, until the Daughters of Atlas enter the picture with the intention of getting back what they believe is rightfully theirs. Marking the return of Keanu Reeves is the highly anticipated film John Wick 4. Continuing where we left off in the previous film, John Wick attempts to take on the High Table but must face off against another enemy with global allies. Those who were once friendly may not be friendly anymore, but that's the price of the assassin life. Dungeons & Dragons is almost here. The action-packed film follows a thief and a team of adventurers who seek a long-lost relic, but have their journey interrupted by other people they come across. The film has a stacked cast from Chris Pine to Justice Smith, and mirrors the tabletop game's aesthetics and storyline format. I don't know a thing about Dungeons & Dragons, but I did not hesitate to get my tickets. Taron Egerton is back on the screen in Apple TV Plus's new film Tetris. The film follows Hank Rogers, the man who discovered the famous game of Tetris and worked with its creator to bring it to the masses of Russia in the 1980s. As someone who played Tetris for many years, this is a must-see for me. Heading into April, Super Mario Bros. Is quickly approaching the big screen on April 5th. The movie will of course follow Mario as he seeks the help of Princess Peach, Luigi, and Toad to fight off Bowser and stop him from executing his evil plans. There's no denying how absolutely vibrant and colorful the animation looks in this film, and I simply cannot wait. If you love Bob Ross, then you have to check out IFC's newest film, Paint, starring Owen Wilson. The film is loosely based off of the life of Bob Ross and follows the character of Carl Nagley, a painter with a local television show who has won the hearts of many. Except this time, his time might be threatened by a new painter who is brought to the studio. Well, that's all that I have for this week. Be sure to tune into the next episode for more Puja's Picks. And until then, back to Tony and Michael.
And speaking of the Mario show or the Mario movie, which we will actually not have another episode until it's already been released in theaters. We're gonna go ahead and let Mickey talk about his top 5 Mario movies.
What's up, Fandoms? It's your boy Mickey, also known as Cell Phone Wallet Keys, and I thought since Fandoms won't be back until after the premiere of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I'd give you my top 5 favorite Super Mario Bros. Movies. Wait, is that right? Can't be right, there's only one. I'm sorry, I don't know. Okay. Number 1, Psych. We all know what a disaster that movie was, although I keep it near and dear to my heart. But what I am going to do is give you my top 5 favorite Super Mario games. Coming in at number 5 is 2001's Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64 gaming system. The game was praised for its engaging storyline, memorable characters, and innovative gameplay mechanics. It was really funny and self-aware, and there were a ton of jokes and references to other games in the Mario series. It had such a unique style and a turn-based battle system that really set it apart from other Mario games. Coming in at number 4, Yoshi's Island, also known as Super Mario World 2. The most notable thing about this game is its unique visual style. The hand-drawn graphics give it a storybook feel. The game was a critical and commercial success upon release, and the game has even been cited as one of the best platform games of all time. It would almost be perfect if it wasn't for that crying baby. Anyway, on to number 3. The 1996 Nintendo 64 flagship game, Super Mario 64. This was the first 3D Mario game and actually set a standard for 3D games to come, featuring a hub world with multiple levels to explore, each with unique challenges and puzzles. It had widespread critical acclaim and is often considered one of the greatest video games ever made. It might be number 1 on this list if it wasn't for that pesky camera. Coming in at number 2, Super Mario Bros. 3. Released in 1988 on the Nintendo Entertainment System, a lot of Mario fans consider this one of the best Mario games ever made. It introduced so many iconic elements to the Mario series, such as power-ups, mini-games, and new worlds to explore. And I'll be honest, when I think about the standard Mario game, this is the one that usually comes to mind. Now, my number one Super Mario game of all time, Super Mario World. Released in 1990 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Mario World is another highly acclaimed Mario game. It introduced Yoshi, a popular character who has since become a staple of the series, and features a large, interconnected world to explore. It won numerous awards and is praised for its tight controls, level design, graphics, and music. Well, there you have it, my top 5 favorite Super Mario games of all time. What a season this has been. The next time we'll see you, it'll be from C2E2 in Chicago. I can't wait to see everyone there. We're going to have a great time. And don't forget to check out the Super Mario Brothers movie on April 5th. Well, that's my time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Cue the penguin.
Fandoms, you're looking beautiful, baby. Good night.
That's awesome. That is so good.
I love it. I love the humor with it. Oh my goodness! And I will tell you, like, I was feeling nostalgic about the Mario 64 until he talked about the camera, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that camera was so frustrating, especially when you were trying to walk on those platforms. Oh my word! But yeah, there's a lot of more great Mario games, and I will be honest with you, my kids kind of turned me on to a couple. If you haven't seen some of the newer stuff that they've got out too, like Super Mario Odyssey, as well as like Super Mario Sunshine, and there's one Bowser's Fury, which is a little bit of a shorter game, but it's definitely interesting. They've done really well with the Mario franchise, and it's been interesting. And of course, if you want to play any of those games, you can always go and check out Nintendo. Nintendo Switch has got these classic games on the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo available with a subscription, and you can play a lot of the old NES games and Super NES games.
You don't have to spend $30,000 on original games that are graded and wrapped, and that's
yeah. Don't crack them open if you got them. Now, speaking of news, and unfortunately, we went from like bad news to trying to break it up to another bad news. If you guys aren't aware, Sam Neill, who is known for things like, of course, Jurassic Park, and of course, the most recent Jurassic World Dominion. He was diagnosed with blood cancer, stage 3 blood cancer, and he is undergoing treatment. We don't know a whole lot about it, but obviously, anytime you've got somebody that is one of those household type faces that goes through something, it makes a lot of people think. And again, I say this anytime. If you are not feeling well, and this is speaking from a guy who is about to, have his cardiology appointment next week to see like where exactly I am on the spectrum when it comes to my own heart disease, get checked out. Make sure you don't ignore symptoms. There are lots of people who are afraid and adverse to doctors, whether it's because of finances and stuff. And let's face it, I'd rather be in debt and alive than be, debt free and not here. So unfortunately, that's just kind of how things are. If you live outside the United States, it might be a little bit easier for you, but regardless, get checked out. Make sure you don't ignore symptoms. It's better in this world when you are with us and you are here. So make sure you're healthy to be able to do that.
Yeah, nothing's more important than your health. And I think that you hit it on the head. Like, don't put it off. Don't, there's just nothing is more important. And so, I think that the scary thing, I don't know much about blood cancer. I think it is dangerous because, again, like the biggest thing with cancer that we always hear is when it spreads, right? And so blood is like what spreads easier than blood in your system. So hopefully that's something. Stage 3 sounds bad. I know stage 4 is worse. So hopefully it's something that is treatable and that he can bounce back from and stuff. But yeah, scary stuff. I think, what else is there to say? It's troubling.
No, I just say, just get checked out, make sure you're okay. Now, one of the things that we are excited to talk about, and of course we've had the whole, the post Oscars being able to go on GMA 3, and I'm going to be going to the Guardians of the Galaxy premiere But beside that, that is the next Marvel movie in the slate of things that we're going to be able to see. And so we're going to be introduced to a lot of new characters. And I want to just go ahead. We're going to finally meet Lila, Rocket's compatriot, fellow experimental animal in this film. We will get Adam Warlock, which is a staple character in the comic books, and one that is surprisingly that we have not seen. It has been teased in previous Guardians film. There was a pod in the Collector's Chamber, which was supposed to be a nod toward Adam Warlock, and of course we know that Aisha, one of the high priestess of the Sovereign, which honestly I feel like the Sovereign have taken the place of the Universal Church of Truth in the comic books, just kind of how they look at everything else. But we know that at the end of Volume 2, she has created a new pod, a new being, and she called him Adam. And now we're going to have Will Poulter as Adam Warlock, and then we have Chukwudi Iwuji as the High Evolutionary, who is going to be the main antagonist of our film. And a lot of people might be like, who in the world is a High Evolutionary? And so our fantastic team in Nerd Initiative, Caption Life, Paper Rate Entertainment, and of course Cell Phone Wallet Keys, have given us a breakdown of who the High Evolutionary is from the comics to kind of get you prepared for Volume 3.
The High Evolutionary. Herbert Edgar Wyndham was a student at Oxford University in the 1930s when he became interested in the work of genetic biologist Nathaniel Essex, also known as Mr. Sinister. Wyndham became single-minded and obsessed with evolution and genetic potential. He was expelled from Oxford after creating a machine intended to evolve rats, leading him to move his experiments to Mount Wundagore. Wundagore Mountain was rich in uranium, and while this was crucial for his experiments, Wyndham had to create a silver suit of armor to protect himself from uranium poisoning. It was here, with the help of his assistant, Miles Warren, that Wyndham would create his first New Men, a genetically accelerated human-animal hybrid. Believing that Earth was far too confined a space, Wyndham converted his scientific citadel into a spacecraft and settled his New Men on a planet dubbed Wundagore 2. On one of his planet's moons, he began to craft a duplicate Earth for his creations. When his counter-Earth was completed, it was a paradise for a time, but was eventually destroyed during the events of the Infinity Gauntlet conflict. The High Evolutionary has since rebuilt his counter-Earth and populated it almost entirely with new men. However, he routinely eradicates the entire population when they inevitably fail to meet his lofty standards of perfection. He then recreates them and the cycle begins again. The High Evolutionary has evolved his intelligence to the upper level of human potential. He has demonstrated godlike powers, including the ability to evolve and de-evolve life forms, superhuman strength and durability, telepathy, telekinesis, extra-dimensional travel, and size alteration. The High Evolutionary wears an exoskeleton that provides an uncanny amount of protection, as well as life support and the ability to heal wounds. While undoubtedly a villain, the High Evolutionary has been known to be benevolent and caring at times. However, his need for perfection and single-minded desire to complete his life's work makes him a fierce and dangerous opponent.
Talk about menacing.
Yeah, Mickey added a little bit of like he changed his style a little bit, didn't he? And it was more like I felt like we're heading to the end of like a Guardian. I don't know. It was like it kind of gave me chills. Like they're always incredible. This one, he definitely took a different tone with it. And man, those are good. I will say, like, there's a couple of things that stood out to me, right? When you learn about these characters, the first and foremost thing that I was thinking about earlier, we were knowing we were going to run this clip, and this is going to be our basically character bio of the show. Man, I love these character bios. The team that does it is just amazing. Are you starting to see a theme in phase 5? Because I am.
Oh yeah, Mount Wondergore is like that was my first thing that popped in my head. Like the idea that you're starting to see there are characters that in the comic books there's like there's this overlap that's now happening with the MCU. You have this this concept of like things that happen post Infinity Gauntlet. I think the thing that speaks most to me from the most recent Guardians trailer was when Rocket said, he doesn't want things better. He just doesn't like things the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that idea of something that there's such a dispassionate desire to change things is almost more of a threat than someone who thinks that they're doing the right thing.
Well, who else didn't like things the way they were in their time?
Oh yeah,
Nathaniel Richards, Kang, and Conqueror.
Oh,
so
true.
I mean, I think look, this is what we're seeing, and I don't know. Again, I have to look at the slate of movies coming out, but the High Evolutionary and Kang are very similar. But I think the one thread that really brings these people together is the fact that they're brilliant scientists. They're men. They're started off as men. I mean, obviously they have built themselves into incredible powers, and what they've been able to do is phenomenal. But if you think about the phases that we saw, obviously we started with like gods, as far as like phase 1, with Loki, and then you had Thanos, and I think Marvel's really leaning into. Even though it's funny, and I think it's a juxtaposition that they're doing on purpose, even though we're going into the cosmos and we're probably going to get Doom and Galactus and the Fantastic Four and things like that, like I think we're really leaning into people and the potential of what people can do. Because again, Kang and High Evolutionary both started off as people that were just not happy with the way the world works. Same thing can be said for Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom. People that didn't, Reed Richards, if you've read, it's a very hard read, but for the first few Fantastic Four books from the 60s, he's just like, he wants to go out in space and he wants to explore what's out there. And he's not, he's obviously brilliant. And I think it's people that feel smothered by their current society and and they want to create something bigger and better or evolve themselves or whatever. And so I really think that's the theme we're starting to see here. Von Doom, same thing there. I mean, so it's going to be really interesting.
It's like once some of these characters that have these high intelligences, they get this mindset. Like I think back at the the Kirkman run for Marvel Zombies. The worst. I remember the most like horrifying thing that happened was where. Like they were doing it. They kind of like hinted at it at the What If, where like Vision was feeding Wanda parts of T'Challa and was trying to not kill him because that was something that Reed Richards did in the comics, and then like when he was infected, he realized that was like the next step in evolution for them, and so. He didn't just want to allow it to happen. He ended up making it where him and the Fantastic Four were trying to go to other places in the multiverse and causing the infection to spread there as well. Like that became his mission. And a being that was oftentimes incredibly, heroic was willing to do something so terrible because he thought in his mindset that was the next step for them.
Yeah. I mean, and Marvel's always been really amazing at like, at least the MCU, right, has been amazing at one bad day, anybody can be a villain, right? And so I think we've seen it, No Way Home at the end where he's really close to killing Green Goblin. He's really close to whatever. And then, with Kang, I think, a lot of people didn't like Ant-Man, and there were things I liked and didn't like. But I, Jonathan Majors and the emotion and the passion he brings, and you saw his development in that movie of like, you don't know with Kang, it's so interesting. You don't know which one's really good or bad. It's such a mind F where it's like, is he the good Kang? Are they all the same? Are they all trying, and I think the High Evolutionary fits in there as well. Like, I think they all probably started off with, positive ambitions, and, and the same thing goes for, was it Reed Richards, his counterpart in the Ultimate franchise in the books, the Maker, he had some things happen, and he goes a different path and becomes basically a villain. So I think we're really going to lean into that in this phase, and I'm excited for it because I do think it's something that's really going to make people think, and it's going to have a deep impact. Thanos and the Infinity Saga was special, especially because of Thanos's how they altered the storyline there. In the books with Infinity Gauntlet and then Infinity War, he was trying to covet death, and it's comics from the 90s, like he's trying to impress death. He loves death, and he wants to, and that's where he wants to kill everything. And they made it really about something that's relevant to all of us, limited resources, people are suffering, does this justify, all that stuff. And so I think, Marvel will continue that with this. And I think it's gonna be really interesting to see where these storylines go, because I love that part. Yeah.
And one more thing we can talk about before we go ahead and cut off, because we're at a good point. Elizabeth Olsen has also signed a contract, it sounds like, for about four more films. So we will get Scarlet Witch in the future, if you didn't think that we were going to get her. So that's obviously going to happen. But honestly, like, regardless, between DC, Marvel, video game, movies, and properties, 2023 is summing up to be an amazing year, including with John Wick and like other stuff. There is so much down the pike that we are looking forward to, that we'll be able to talk about next time we're here. But with that said, we are wrapping up our final episode for this season 1. How I decided to call it season 1 and 14 episodes, I don't know why.
It's pretty cool. It's a cool feeling. Look, we've done, again, and I think that's the thing about content creation, right? You're trying to put your passion out there, and it's fun to think about, no matter if 50 or 50,000 people have watched this or that or done anything. I think it's cool, and it's nice to have a bookend and be like, okay, benchmark 1 is this. What's the next goal? What's the next benchmark? What's so I think it's great. I love it. I when you mentioned it earlier, and I saw in like the preview, listing on YouTube, I was like, cool, season finale. It's cool. Like, we're part of a season finale, whether or not like it's big or small or whatever. It's still a creation. You're putting something out there, and I always think that's a really cool feeling to be a part of something like that. So,
but what I'll say this, just to kind of add to what you said. What also causes a great feeling when you think of all of this is the fact that we do have a merch store, and we would love for you all to check out our amazing merch. You can see Michael wearing our Nerd Initiative hat. It would be fantastic if you were to wear our swag. And listen, if I see you at C2E2 and you are already wearing a Nerd Initiative swag and you haven't come to our booth yet, I might have something special for you. So please, please check out
speaking
that
of that,
code.
also, I mean, look, like, these are one of the hats that, don't look at my hair, but these are one of the hats that we've ordered specifically for C2E2. We're going to have a slew of stuff, we've talked about in the past. 1742 is our booth. We're going to be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's
Friday evening is going to be our big trivia panel. Thanks to Donovan. Yeah.
And we scattered that room as S402, 402S. How is it? The room at C2E2. But long story short, we're not going to get into the semantics, but we will hope to see everybody. We're gonna have a ton of stuff to give out. We want to meet everybody. We want to connect with more people. We want to get your story above all else. That is what we're all about. We want to, if you're a convention goer, if you're a fan of anything we do, or if you're someone we don't even know, we want to meet new people and build relationships. And we're gonna have a lot of fun stuff coming. And I just couldn't be more excited. Like, I will say this, and this is cool. And again, I'm not going to ramble on for too long, but what's cool is this show makes me really excited. Not that I wasn't excited before, but it just kind of carries that essence and that theme going in. And that's what we want. We just want to meet you guys. We want to have, a fun, inspiring time. We want to, give stuff out. The Donovan's, trivia panel is going to be absolutely insane. If you haven't seen, we will start to promote like the stack of stuff, the merch and the Funkos, and there's like a Lego gauntlet, and like he's got
a Kevin Feige signed Wakanda Forever hat.
I want that hat really bad.
I know, me too.
But no, it's for the best of it's for the group. But
I'll get a Kevin Feige signed Guardians of the Galaxy hat. That's what I'll go for.
Oh God, I want that. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to be really fun. It's going to be really cool, and it's going to match the energy that we have here right now. And so it will be positive and fun, and we just can't wait to meet everybody. And yeah, that's the only goal, is just to have fun with you guys, and that's it. That's my spiel.
Absolutely. Well, with that said, we have wrapped up season 1 of Fandoms. We are going to go ahead and be on hiatus for the next. We'll do a nerd news next week, and then we will be off the week of C2E2. But be sure we will be posting videos of what's going on as we're able to, and with the team. And if you were going to be out in Chicago, March 31st to April 2nd. Please be sure to catch us. There is going to be lots of opportunity to do some amazing things. And on top of that, I just also want to let you know, check out the Comic Press podcast. New episodes are, there's a new episode next week. But also please remember, you can catch this show as well as the Comic Press podcast on podcast form. So you can listen to it on your way to work or in the gym or whatever else to hear us wax eloquent. Just so that you have something to do, that you can listen to. We would love to have you there, especially if you follow us on Spotify. It makes it a little bit easier for us.
If we are your nighttime sleep aid, that's also fine. Like, hey,
we'll do some ASMR. Well,
it's great. It's fine. Yeah. If we help you fall asleep, we're cool with that as well. So,
and also be sure, if you have some ideas of what you would like to see us do on this show, especially for next season, you can email me, Tony at nerdinitiative.com. I would love to hear your ideas and feedback. We want to make the show interesting. We might even add a variety aspect to it. But regardless, please share your thoughts. There is no stupid idea. Because listen, I'm running this. There you go.
Even to your point, and then I'm done. Like, when we first started doing this, one of the things we had was like people's nerd origin stories in, and obviously it's a lot to do, but if there's anything, look, Nerd2Ween, great creator, first video, was really well done. Excited. He's just got another, just not only talent, but good person. Let us know if you have ideas or things you want to do. We are always looking to collaborate, and that's what we're all about. And that's what we'll be doing at C2E2, is really trying to get people's stories, talk to people, connect with more people. And so I'm excited for that. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Like, we are always open to, that's why we exist, basically, is to just have fun with you guys.
And regardless of whether TikTok exists in the next couple of days or not, nerdinitiative.com as well as our Nerd Initiative YouTube are here to stay. So do not worry. You'll still get some of your favorite content creators on this platform if it's not elsewhere. And listen, it's kind of funny, and I'll say this and we'll be done. As a content creator who has about 68,000 followers on TikTok, you would think I would panic thinking that all of that, because literally my YouTube has like 76 follower or subscribers. My Instagram only has like about maybe almost 600 followers. Twitter, I don't even want to talk about it. But it doesn't matter, because this is what I'm excited about is Nerd Initiative. And as long as this is here, I don't care about anything else.
Yeah. It's about your passion and your voice. This is to everyone and not just to Tony, but like, it's not, platforms will be up and down. And we were talking about this in our like Discord channel or whatever you want to call it, like our communication tool. It didn't dawn on me until, and then I will 100% shut up. But think about Facebook, right? There's always going to be something, much like, TV and movies and up and down. There's always going to be something. The social media cat is out of the bag. And so, it's so crazy. I'm never on Facebook anymore. And I used to love that platform. And so I think platforms come and go, and they grow and evolve and whatever. And so to each his own. And it's about the passion, it's about the voice, and it's about the connection and collaboration. And so that's what we are all about. And we'll continue to do that on whatever platform it means necessary, or in person at C2E2 in 2 weeks in Chicago. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, good night, Michael, and good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being with us for Fandoms. We hope to see you when we come back in April.